Okay, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for coming to these lightning talks. Appreciate your time, and it's lunchtime, so you made a choice of us over food, which I salute. My name's David James. Talk today is going to be about how you can turn a side project into a business. As just a quick show of hands, how many of you in the audience today have got an idea or are working on a side project that you might be thinking about turning into a business? Great. And those of you who didn't put your hand up really do, but don't want to tell anyone about it, I can tell. Just like me. A bit of background about me. So my background is software development. I've worked in .NET technologies my whole life. I had a very traditional corporate cookie cutter background. I worked for airlines, finance firms. I worked for an investment bank. And one day, my parents bought a vehicle in East London, in Ilford. Took it home, took it to the garage a couple of weeks later because I had a problem. And then when they returned to get the vehicle, the police were waiting for them because it turned out the vehicle was stolen. It had been cloned, so my parents hadn't inadvertently bought it. It was a mistake on their part, but it sort of put a chip on my shoulder. They lost about £4,000. They had to return the vehicle to its rightful owner. And I thought, well, is there anything I can do to make it easier for people to check the history of a vehicle? So I didn't plan to start Total Car Check. I just started a website in the evenings and weekends using a laptop that my then girlfriend, now wife, got free with a mobile phone. So you certainly don't need lots of money to start a business. We check about 10 million vehicles a year. In the UK, there's about 36 million unique vehicles. So about 25% pass through our platform. It's actually a little bit higher than that because I don't include some of our partners because those customers are not ours. And we have hundreds of thousands of paying customers. We've only got two full-time employees, and one of those is me. And for 90% of our history, it's just been me running the business. You'll all probably be feeling the same when you want to start a business, and that's the fear of failing. It's a very human feeling, and I think all of us feel it at some point in our life. We often look at a problem as well and think, that the hill that we have to climb is rather large. It's a psychological trick, really, that is called loss aversion. And it's this principle that if someone were to offer you a choice of losing £5 or not losing £5 or winning £5, most people choose not to lose the £5. Try and change that mentality when you start to think that nothing ventured, nothing gained. And the way I always saw it was that I hadn't achieved anything before I started Total Car Check. So if I didn't achieve anything after that, nothing would have changed. You don't need lots of cash. You really don't. I think in the society that we live in, you'll read about venture capitalism and investment, and you don't really need that, certainly at the start, to grow any business. It is important that you're passionate about what you do and that you're interested in the topic that you're looking to build. But fortunately, most of you in the audience will be developers. You can bootstrap a lot of what you do. Much of the success of Total Car Check was down to the fact that I could build the website myself and I could start myself. You don't have to work long hours. I think it's a misconception that you have to spend all of your time doing this. What I will say in this talk is that a lot of the specific things I say have been successful for me, and there's an element of what they will call survivorship bias. So it worked for me, so it must work for everyone. It won't. So some of the advice that I'm going to give is quite general, and some people find that frustrating, but hopefully it will resonate with you. The most important part of any business that's intended to make money is phase 2, working out how you make the money. Now, this can be as simple as asking the customer to make payment and give you money. But what's really important at the start of your business is that you understand what sometimes people refer to as a business model, but I'd put simply as, how am I going to get money? So this can be really straightforward or as convoluted as you like, but you should spend a lot of time researching how other people make money using similar methods. Do people do it for free? What can you do differently? When I started Total Car Check, there was 4 main competitors with total market capitalisation of probably £500 million, and then there was me, sat in my bedroom. And I thought, what can I do that everyone else can't do? One of the advantages you have when you start is that you're small and agile, you can change quickly. All things that large organisations can't do, you've got to use this to your advantage. The 3 tenets you can focus on to start with is, can you do anything cheaper, better, or different? Ideally, you can do all 3, but try and pick one of those, because that's how you can target your audience. In a slightly contradictory fashion, I would also say don't focus too heavily on your competition. You want to be your own person, try and build the product that you want to do. Constantly comparing yourself to other products isn't going to help your development. And don't make money your master. It sounds obvious, but there are huge benefits of running your own business outside of money. Having control of your time is a huge benefit. Not having to commute, potentially, for example. Some people would take maybe a 5% cut of their current pay just to have a more flexible lifestyle. Okay, this has got a bit of sound, so I'll just start that again. Let's see. This is what Steve Martin, who I've said a software developer, it was a joke, says about success. Let's have a look, I can get this up. I'll tell you what, we'll come back to that. What can you do? Customer support. So one of the big worries I had when I first started Total Car Check is how are we going to deal with customer support requests? Is it going to be overwhelming? And how am I going to do it? So I would say a couple of things. Firstly, use the personal touch, something you can do that big faceless corporations can't do with your customers, and treat them with kid gloves. Definitely don't do telephone support to start with. We still don't do telephone support. It's email only. There's simply no need most of the time to do it, and it's a huge time sink and energy sink. What I like to suggest to people is that once you get started, get a little group of your customers that seem engaged, 5, 10, 2. Put them on an email list, ask their permission to send ideas their way and get feedback from them. Sometimes you'll find asking your friends and family isn't the best thing you can possibly do, because they might tell you things that are not particularly true. Social proof, something that Robert Cialdini, I think, writes in his book called Influence, which I recommend, and it really works. When you start doing things well, start to tell your customers that other people are enjoying it. We've all had the Amazon product buying experience where you see the rating, and if it's over about 50, you sort of start to pay attention. So we have 22,500 views ratings, but that's not really that important. We started this very early. Start in your on your website, in your feedback, potentially on your social media, telling people that other people are using your product. It's a great way of growing. Okay. Possibly the most random slide I've ever used. Does anyone know what the item they're looking at on the desk is? Yes? Denim chicken. Yes. Okay. It makes no sense, but really this slide is here to illustrate one thing, is that you shouldn't constrain yourself to thinking about the craziest ideas. I couldn't think of anything crazier than this. And sometimes I think we limit ourselves to thinking about what we can do based on our former examples. People say think outside the box. I say think about denim chicken. Products and services, all of you will be aware that the cloud providers out there will have startup programs. I was on BizSpark with Microsoft. That doesn't exist anymore, but it's been replaced by Microsoft for Startups. They give you free credits. We pretty much didn't spend a penny for about the first year, and then after that they graduated onto a scheme where we had reduced costs. I think it's about 30% off. And I have great things to say about Azure. Those of you that came to my talk yesterday about deciding as late as possible, you can do both with Azure in many cases. We reserved 2 instances of virtual machines for 3 years, and we get 50% off, and we only pay monthly. So if we cancel it, we just lose the discount, but we still have that opportunity to apply the discount. Same with databases. Our costs are very low. Less than 1% of our revenues are in IT infrastructure. That isn't normal. But it's just, our service is a software as a service. So I have no physical overhead, no inventory, no product, no storage. I recommend people get a local Skype number because it's just practical for things like setting up an app store. They'll ask for a landline, even if you haven't got one. Email, there's lots of free providers. We use Zoho Mail. Branding's important. You're going to get a logo. Get one done professionally. There's a website, 99 Designs, that will do one for you for a couple of £100, and it's well worth the investment. Okay, this is slightly arbitrary. You can choose your own technologies. You're all intelligent people. But what I would say is don't focus on the fact that the technology will be the success of your company, unless you're selling technology, in which case it will. But my point is, we use Twitter Bootstrap framework. We use PhoneGap and Cordova as our app because we already had HTML and JavaScript skills, or I did. So it was easier for us to transition there. Okay, some practical advice. A lot of people, when they start, will say, how can we get people to come to our website? We'll use Google AdWords. Don't do that. For 2 years, we didn't spend any money on Google AdWords. And you'll see, this is taken from yesterday, 94% of our traffic is either organic or direct. This lowers our cost of acquisition to almost zero, and means our competitors, one of whom spends £150,000 a month acquiring customers, have a much higher bar. But you can't do that unless you agree to it up front. The numbers just make no sense. Here's an example I took from yesterday, from our analytics dashboard. And it's a work of fiction anyway. I mean, at the top level, they're asking you to spend £4,000 a day to lose £19,000 a week. I mean, I haven't got a maths degree, but I could work that one out. How can you do well in SEO? People talk about SEO all the time, but you know, it's actually really been simplified nowadays. Make your website mobile friendly and fast. Google Chrome have a Lighthouse application, which is integrated into the browser in the F12 developer tools. You should be trying to score 100 on all of these. This will literally change your ranking on organic search. You will appear higher, you'll appear above your competitors, and you'll get more clicks. Focus on security. Those of you that will have attended Troy's talks and other OWASP talks here will know that this is important, but there's nothing worse than having a problem like a data breach. I really can't assess that enough. I mean, some of our competitors have had it happen to them, and it can ruin your business model. Principles. Personally, I think that one of the things you can differentiate yourself on in the industry is the way in which you do business. One of my favourite quotes is thinking about, you know, people won't remember what you said, they'll remember how they make you feel. I think it's really important. You have, as a small organisation, you have a really large effect on the way that you interact with people. So being kind, honest and inclusive has a huge effect. I could tell you stories about that effect. And just to finish, two things that I read before I started. They're both free. One's called How to Be Creative by a guy called Hugh MacLeod. He writes cartoons in the back of business cards. And he has I read it in about 2008, a great ebook on how to be creative. And many of you will have read Getting Real by Basecamp. And it's mostly centered around a software as a service product, but it's an excellent read. That's it. Thank you for staying for my talk. If you do need any help or advice, one of my objectives for this year is to be more helpful with people and try to help them learn from what I've learned. So tweet me. But thank you for your time.